today was a hard day. I woke up, I had breakfast, I went for my normal walk, and then I spent the rest of the day working on installing the van subfloor for van life. And I know that people see a lot of these van life build videos where there's like the music and there's like the cute couples like building stuff together and they're making jokes and the dogs running around. But when you're building a van by yourself, it can be very boring. And it can be very depressing when you're in the early stages. And it's just like you have so much more stuff to do. And so like basically a few days ago, I cut the wood strips that go on the bottom of my van at my dad's house. And then today the project was like gluing them to the metal ribs which run along the floor. And it was probably the most boring thing that I've done for van life so far. And it feels like the reason that it feels so depressing is, because like people are going to watch this video and they're like, oh, like just hang in there. You've only got a few more months until you've finished the build. But the reality is that, or I don't know, not the reality, but the way that it feels is not like, oh, it's going to be a few months or 6 months until I can move into the van. It's like you sort of feel all the time that you have had to go through already, plus like the time that you have to wait, for this thing that you're working towards. So like I constantly feel like I have to wait like a year plus or wait like 10 years plus 6 months, like I started thinking about van life 10 years ago and it was just like every year, every day, it would just feel frustrating because I didn't know how to make it happen, whatever. So when I'm working on something really boring and difficult like this, it can feel like that, like you have 10 years to go. You just feel the weight of all of the time and frustration and, of living at home and working in a job I hated before that and so on and so forth. But there's just been the other hard thing about van life is like when you're doing it yourself, you make mistakes and it feels really frustrating, not just to have to like fix the mistakes, but to be worried about like what the next mistake you're going to make is. Fortunately, I haven't made any major mistakes. The only problems that I've had so far are like I just had a minor leak in my big window, which I think I can fix. It's just in like one place. And then there was like the vented windows that I installed. There were some little like dimples around it. So I'm kind of worried that the frame is like too big and putting too much stress on the wall. So like worst case scenario, I might have to like cut it down a little bit. But anyways, it's just sort of the tax, the ADHD tax. This is what people talk about. I don't know that it's necessarily ADHD in this case. It's just doing something I've never done before, and there are always going to be mistakes. But it feels frustrating because every time you make a mistake, it like takes you longer. It can take a long time. Like sometimes you have to wait for materials, or you just get depressed and like you don't want to do anything. But it's also been really hard trying to YouTube and build a van at the same time. Like this is something that no one really talked about when I was watching videos about van life, is like you are essentially taking on 2 full-time jobs, because like I YouTube full-time for a living to make money, which I need to finance the van, the van build, right? And then I'm also working full-time on the van, which is also very time-consuming and exhausting. And further, another thing I didn't really think about is just like the mental tax of working on a van, because there's so much like visualization required for the design, but also like trying to plan out what you're going to do. And van life is like, there's no like van life book that you can read, I mean, some people have put out ebooks and stuff like that, but the information is very incomplete. And sometimes it only applies to like one type of van or one type of situation, one type of build. And it can be really hard trying to figure out like what you need to do and like where you're going to put all your shit, So anyways, it just felt like a machine day, where you're not really living. You're just doing this like mindless task, and there's there's just so many like little frustrations. For example, the Ford Transit has these ribs that you're supposed to glue to, but I initially thought they were like half an inch, right? But it turns out they're a half an inch minus like a 16th of an inch. And so all the little like spacer blocks that I made because like sometimes the ribs are like varied, so you're putting wooden cross beams, and like sometimes there's a space where the rib isn't, like I guess they're trying to leave room for cables or something. But anyway, so you have to put these little blocks in, so it adds a little bit of support, right? But the blocks are half an inch because you can't like buy lumber that's a half an inch minus a 16th. So I like had to bike over to Ace in the middle of the day, and then I bought some coarse sandpaper, hoping that I could like sand it down. But it's just, I had like 16 spacers, so I'm just like trying to like hand sand a 16th of an inch away from a wood block, which sounds like it would be really doable, but it's totally not. And then I tried using the power grinder, little angle grinder that I have, and that was just like too imprecise, because it's like you're getting like a curve, an angle, instead of doing it flat, and it didn't seem to sand very well on the wood block either. Oh man, but I did get it done. I finished around like 5, and I was like my mind was just like, I just wanted to like live van life, I'm so tired of these meaningless, boring build things. And then of course you have to film, which is, again, it's really hard if you're not working with someone. Like, I'm just a solo filmmaker, so I have to be like, working on the van, then I have to be like filming myself working on the van, and it's really, yet again, like super exhausting. So I got done with my day, and so often lately, I just haven't felt like doing anything else. I make the same like salad bowls for myself every single day because I don't have like the brain power left over from making YouTube videos and van life, and then like somehow having like the creativity to to think of new things to eat or to draw or whatever. So like the garbage time at the end of the day, those 1 to 2 hours, a lot of times it's just going towards like scrolling on YouTube because it's like all that I have energy left to do. And they're just like all of these things that have been a problem for a long time, just like not having any connection, friends, or like a relationship. I haven't been in a relationship for like 15 years. And that's another thing where it feels like I just keep like needing something else, to like get myself to the point where I could like, I don't know, go out and travel, have a relationship, whatever. It's like all of my energy levels are on 0. My relationship level is 0, it's like my friendship level is 0 because all my friends and family are like spread out across the whole country, and I like almost never see them. I try to connect with people, that I just like meet going out on walks and stuff like that, but everyone is just getting sucked into the metaverse, just like I'm struggling with too. But sometimes I'll talk to people and you'll start to have a connection with someone, and then they'll say something that'll be just like a red flag for you, and you just feel like this huge abyss open up between you emotionally. Like I was just talking to someone today on the path that I walk on, and I just sort of assumed that they were like this, natural person who valued like nature and healthy food and whatever. And then they just casually drop like getting coffee and like breakfast food at McDonald's every day. I'm like, Jesus. It's like when people say things like that, it just makes you realize that the things that you thought you had in common, you probably, like, you do have some things in common, but it's one of those, like, there are certain, like, they call it a red flag because it means so many different things. Like when someone says this one thing and you realize that it's connected to all these other things that you aren't going to be able to connect with. And it's like, what do you even say to someone at this point? It's 2024. How are you still eating food from McDonald's? Like, with all of the news that has come out about, like, just how terrible their food is and, like, the abuse of, I don't even know. It's just like, yeah, I don't know how to relate to people anymore. With my barefoot shoes and my lack of a normal employment and living at home and moving into a van, I don't know how to relate to people anymore. But anyways, I was trying to get to sleep tonight, and I just couldn't because my brain is like racing. And I usually, when this happens, I need to make a video like this. I just need like a huge brain dump. But it took me a while to get out of bed because I have to like set up my camera and everything. Like, I have my camera right here, and then I have my microphone below it, and then it's like grabbing onto the wheel of my mom's car. I'm not in the van because I don't have a good lighting system, and anyways, I can't really like get out of the house and open the door without waking my mom up or waking the neighbors up. So we're in my mom's car again. But anyways, yeah. So I'm really looking forward to the Light Phone 3. If you don't know, it's this little minimalist phone. It's the successor to the Light Phone 2. And the big change is that it has a camera. So I'm really looking forward to like an easier vlogging setup where I can just record my thoughts, because the sooner that I can get ideas out of my brain and like into the camera, the better they are. These talks are always good when they're fresh, fresh out of the chaos oven that is my life. But anyways, so before I went to record this video, my mom will leave her phone charging, and so sometimes I revert to my old habits of like, trying to like scroll on social media. And so I installed Hinge on her phone, and I was just like swiping, through people. And I came across this person that I knew from college, and at first I was like, well, I was like excited to see her, we hadn't talked in a long time. And so I was going to say hi. And then I was like scrolling through her profile, and I'm like, oh my God, she looked like she was on heroin, and it was really sad. I feel like I'm seeing this happen with a lot of people, not just this in specific, but just like health problems and just depression. And like, I kind of knew that it was coming, because in college she was like very into psychedelics and conspiracy theories, and was living in this commune-like house where they like didn't have any heat or something, or I don't know, there wasn't like a front door, and it was just like, in college it seems sort of like funny and like endearing, like, oh, here's this like creative person who's having fun experimenting with psychedelics, and and their life is like a mess. But when you get out of college, like, the shit really starts to hit the fan when you're disorganized and you can't keep your shit together, So it just felt really sad. I was walking the other day to the grocery store, and there's been this guy who apparently is houseless, and for the last month, he's been just hanging out on the grass hill, like leading to the grocery store, and he just has this like super dark energy. He's got these like gigantic shadows under his eyes. He never says like hi or anything if he walks by you, and I like kind of like want to engage with him, but he's just like really dark energy, and I'm not sure whether it's because it is dark energy or because he's just like frustrated by most people like ignoring him or something. This is a common thing with houseless people, is that like I don't know, it's very strange on both sides because like people just don't know how to like interact when there's such a difference in, like living circumstances and finances and, whatever. But something I've been feeling lately is like I've just been struggling with, health problems and trying to get like my shit together. And I haven't really made much progress with like this sort of mystery joint pain, whole body joint pain that I've been dealing with. And I don't know, I've just been feeling frustrated and lonely, and I'm hoping that the van will be the solution, or at least in part, or it'll be like a gateway to something better. But I've just been feeling really hopeless. And so like when I see someone like that, I think, oh, like I could buy them a sandwich or do something for them. But it's like, what's the point? Because this person is so deep in like problems that, and like I haven't even figured out like how to get healthy, how to drag myself out of just like struggling in life. And it's like if I'm struggling so much, like what hope does this person have? I feel the same way towards kids, honestly. Like I used to really like kids, and now I don't like interacting with kids because I sort of feel like I don't know what to tell them. Like how do you even live in this world anymore where it's like everything is toxic and all these corporations and governments are just trying to like squeeze all the profit out of people they can and control everything. And then we've got like AI becoming sentient, and just like wars and poverty and like what do you even tell people anymore? Like it's that I just don't know. I have nothing to like offer people. Like I could get a person to like the point where I'm at now, but I can't help anyone any further than that. And I feel like I've been stuck for a while, just falling into the same traps of scrolling on social media mindlessly. And I feel like every day I wake up and I try to like get myself back onto a good path where I'm like drawing and doing things that I enjoy. But it's like all I do is work. It's just work, work on the van. And just like I haven't been able to find like a book that I really enjoyed reading. The last one that I liked was the 1984 graphic novel, but I wouldn't say that I liked it. Like I really liked the illustration and stuff, but it was super depressing, And it's almost like I feel like the normal sort of like healthy, creative, energetic spectrum would look like this. It's like up, down, up, down. You have like your highs and you have your lows. And like this summer, it just feels like, or just like recently, it's felt like more low and low and low. I'm just like here all the time, just kind of like flatline. And then every once in a while, I'll get like a spike where something good will happen. But then it's like back to feeling low again. And there's nothing wrong with me, like mentally speaking, I don't really have brain fog. I'm just like, I can still sit down in front of the camera and just talk and talk and talk. And I'm perfectly capable of coming up with ideas, but there's just like emotionally, I just can't function. It's too much trauma, too much stress, too much destruction of the normal functioning of human society. And I woke up this morning, I've tried like so many different things to keep myself organized and motivated and whatnot. And I thought like maybe I can kind of like pick this one idea and just focus on that one idea, like emotionally, so that it motivates me. But it just doesn't work. It's like I can't access this feeling of like warmth and happiness and whatnot. It's just like I have energy, but it's all like cold-blooded reptilian energy. I'm like a popsicle. I'm like a I'm like a I'm like a water popsicle with no flavor. I'm like, I'll hydrate you, but I won't give you any nutrition. Or I don't know, I'm like a kale salad. I'm like really healthy and I will give you nutrition, but no nutritional enjoyment. I don't know. I hope you're getting some nutrition from this video. Um, it feels like 0 calories, but I don't know. I guess people seem to get something out of my videos because they still watch, and I'm still getting more subscribers, so I don't know. I must be doing something right. I guess maybe the only thing that I'm doing right is that I have a pulse. I think a lot of people don't even have a pulse now, they're like, they're like scripted and, they're not even real. They're wearing makeup and they're on the conveyor belt of life. So I guess there's at least that. I'm definitely off the conveyor belt. I'm nowhere near the conveyor belt. And then some other things that are going on that have been going on for a while is just like health of my friends and family in general, and like especially my parents. It's like my dad is I feel so frustrated because like I've been asking my dad for help with the van because I know that he likes to spend time with me and I like to learn things from him, but he's been, struggling financially his entire life and never like properly learned how to like run his own business. He's like a lot of creative people. He's just like really creative and has really good, craftsman skills, but not good business skills. And anyways, so like his basement is and his garage, the two places where we work, are really hard to work in. And I can see like it's hard for him. He gets really frustrated because there's like too much wood piled everywhere. And like every time I ask him, every time I work on something with him, it's like he's got to shift all this stuff around, from like what he was working with. And so it's a really hard situation. I like, he likes spending time with me. I mean, we like spending time with each other, but I just feel bad, that he doesn't have the space that he needs to work. And it's just overwhelming. Like the problem is overwhelming. He needs so much money. He needs money to fix his gutters. He needs money to buy better food. A lot of times he eats, he'll eat like Spam, just because it's cheap. And I'm like, Dad, this is the worst possible food that you could eat. But there's no choice, like when you don't have enough money, and it's like I'm trying to get my life straightened out, and you constantly have this thing of like, I'll give him money or I'll buy him food, and it's like, but it's just a drop in the water. Because he would need like $20,000 to fix up his garage and add some shelves and insulation for the winter and expand so that he has some space to work. And then he would need tens of thousands of dollars more to fix his roof. Then my mom is still really struggling because she had her gallbladder removed more than 10 years ago, and she has really hard time digesting anything, and it's getting worse and worse. She keeps having to go back to the dentist for like these horrible invasive surgeries because she's getting like deep infections, and it's because she's, the only foods that you can eat are like dairy, gluten. It's the worst possible foods, just like all acidic foods. And you can see that like this is what happens when you eat acidic foods. You get cavities and you get infections and white rice. Yeah. And it's just like it's just really lonely too, like getting on the natural health train, because there's almost no one on it. I'm just like, I listen to the phone conversations and just hear things that people are saying, and all of it makes you feel so lonely. Like, my mom was on the phone talking to a family member the other day, and there was like a younger family member who was struggling because of some trauma issues, and I don't know that I'm just not going to get into detail here, but like there was someone in the family that was like suggesting that they get him on antidepressants. He's like in high school. Jesus Christ. Like, none of these problems existed, as even like 50 years ago. It's all because of the garbage processed food and all of the pollution and the toxins and the mold and those heavy metals leaking into the pipes and just all of this shit. This is why I was like, for a very short time, I was excited about Bobby Kennedy. He was like the next Bernie Sanders, and it just felt like there was just this tiny sliver of hope that he would like swoop in and fix all this bullshit, and just like take the lying corporations to task for their greediness. But it's really, really sad to see him attaching himself to the Trump campaign, because you can just see like what Trump did when he was in office is just like take all of the national parks and just like open them up for, drilling or just exploitation in general. And this is like what RFK Jr. has spent his entire life working against, right? So I understand them like wanting to have a position in a cabinet and being screwed over by the Democratic Party, the undemocratic party, it should be called. But it's really sad, Not that I really care about politics, honestly. It's just a giant waste of time, because it's like one party may be like slightly better at this one thing, and then it's like worse at something else, and then it's like the opposite for the other party, and then it just keeps flip-flopping year after year, or, term after term, whatever, and there's just no progress whatsoever. So I don't know. I understand why people would want to vote for Trump, because they're just so angry and, nothing is happening. They just want to see change, or at the very least, they want to see the establishment burn to the ground. But establishment is very good at being fireproof, unfortunately. But that's enough about politics. I think in summation, the way that I feel right now is like I'm a substitute teacher for myself. Like, how when a teacher gets sick and they like leave instructions for the substitute teacher, and so then the substitute teacher is like teaching you based off of those instructions. And I feel like that's what's going on for me right now. Most of the time, I can't feel anything. I'm just like completely numb, from stress and trauma and all of this, like working so hard for so long for this goal that it still feels like it's far away. I just hope I can get to a place where I could like feel something again, feel some, warmth, not be stressed out and tired all the time and lonely. But I am accomplishing things, Whatever else, I got something done today. I glued some wooden boards down to a big hunk of metal that'll hopefully become a home, and it's still a ways off. But the thing I'm really looking forward to is putting the wood stove in there, because it feels like metaphorically that's what's going on with me most, is just like this lack of warmth, this feeling like I'm just this like cold-blooded reptile, and so it feels like I just hope that will be like the sort of like metaphorical like warming of me, it's like having, living in this cold house, or at least it was cold to me for like 7 years. Then finally I get this like tiny stove that provides me warmth when I need it, and feels natural and whatnot. I watched my friends Andrew and Sarah's van tour today. I think they were on the road for 4 years, they said, before they did their tour video. I can totally relate to that because I'm a serial procrastinator, and also like I have so much to say that oftentimes like I don't say it because it never feels like the right time. It feels like, oh, I need to do this and this and this, and then it never happens. I'm really thankful for them, for this video, and also getting to see their van this summer and like be in it, because it's one thing to watch a video about a van, about van life, about a space, about someone who's achieved something in their life, but it's another thing to get to walk in it and get like an intimate feeling of what that's like. And I've just sort of used that as like a little furnace for my van life aspirations, goals, to keep the dream alive. It's really important to have those like touchstones or whatever you want to call them, because there are just so many things that can put your fire out. And most people's fire dies, unfortunately. I would say, I don't know, 90%, 99, maybe even 99% of people's dreams die out. So I'm just trying to keep things real, and I hope that this video is kind of like a furnace to you, maybe if you're going through the same things. And it does get better. It feels a lot of times like things are shit, but they do get better if you stay consistent and you just try to do one thing every single day to make your life better. Even if it feels like it's moving at a snail's pace, you will get there eventually.